Yeah. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna do us. Us laddies. 10 songs. How I'll react to it. Really just kind of chill. Cup of yeah, there's a delay for sure. If it's on, maybe it's on testing one. Bomb clock. Better on Twitch. Thinking of playing some uh Silent Hill. Playing Silent. But wait before I still hear me though. No. It's gonna be way louder. It's gonna be like down here. Maybe at an angle. You still can't hear me. Let them know. want to hear some type beats, low key. Some Drake type beats. Get my feels. Hit up my ex or something. You feel me? Good old usual. Drunk text at 5 p.m. Fuck is in jail?
At the beginning of 2020, we saw the rise of Bronx drill music. And one of the faces of Bronx drill music in the 2020s was no other than the rapper K Flock. K Flock was taking off extremely quickly back in the 2020s, if you guys remember. He was probably the main figure of Bronx drill. He performed at the Summer Jam. He had a couple of hit songs. He was getting a lot of momentum, and he looked like the next one up. The only problem with K Flock was that a lot of his hype, a lot of his attention came from the actions and the things that he was doing, not necessarily his music. His music was an afterthought to what he was doing in the streets. And you know, when it comes to drill music, that's usually how it works. What people really pay attention to is what you do in the streets. And then it transfers over to music, and that's exactly what we saw with K Flock. K Flock was one of the fastest growing drill rappers at that time. He literally took off, and many thought that he was going to be one of the very few artists of the drill era to stay around and, you know, have a successful career, like we saw with Pop Smoke. You know, drill music obviously goes back way before K Flock. It started in the 2010s, but for a while it had died down a bit. In the 2020s, we saw the rise of Bronx drill music. We saw the rise of Florida drill music. We saw the rise of drill music everywhere. And with the rise of drill music, we saw the negative effects that it had on the communities where this drill music was being birthed, where this drill music was
America
being created.
psyop.
And K Flock has to be the poster child of what happens when you get into drill music and you go too far. Some of you guys might already know, I grew up in the Bronx. Around 2020, I left the Bronx. I was living in the Bronx until 2020, and I left the Bronx in 2020 when things really got bad. But everything that people seen in drill
He
music,
does have a Bronx
that was
accent.
normally already
Really got
happening in the
bad.
Bronx. I grew up in those environments myself, and a lot of my friends, and even myself when I was younger, experienced it, seen it firsthand, and had to deal with the consequences of living in these environments. But drill music took everything negative from the streets and made it positive and pushed it in the music form, which is not something new. But what was new about it was that these drill rappers were literally rapping about active crimes they had just committed. Crimes that they can be investigated for and go to prison for. But these rappers were so happy to rap about them. Like, it was literally like they committed the crime, they took out somebody, and then went to the studio, made a song about it, and bragged about it. And the next day the song was out. At the time, while all these rappers were living at the moment, committing these crimes, people getting killed, then they'll make a song about it, then they'll put it out, and then they'll argue about it on Instagram Live. They were being praised by fans, and they were only going up. So it almost seemed like they weren't expecting what was going to happen next, which is what drill music literally does. I honestly believe that drill music was hijacked early on, or it couldn't even been manufactured, because of the simple fact that its purpose, it's to destroy the community from within. That's literally the purpose of drill music, and that's what we saw with K Flock. K Flock terrorized the Bronx, Harlem. He was all over these streets. He was known for running down on his ops, recording it live, showing himself live on Instagram, running after his ops and pulling out weapons on them and terrorizing the streets. While most rappers just rap about being gangsters and maybe have a criminal history in the past, K Flock was actively in the street, proving his criminal history, showing that he was this big bad criminal. And eventually it caught up to him. Chances are those that follow hip hop and follow drill music, you might have heard the news that the rapper K Flock got 30 years in prison. The story of K Flock is a very sad story because the kid was only like 18 years old when this all happened. And he had literally just become this successful rapper and had the opportunity to not only get himself out of the streets, but all of his friends out of the streets, you know, get his mom out of the streets. All of these things could have been a possibility. But instead, he decided to crash out to prove that he was this big, bad, tough guy, because that's the image that he's presenting through his drum music. If I'm not mistaken, I think this happened back in 2021. K Flock is walking down the street past a barbershop. It's alleged that he looked into the barbershop, notices somebody that he has issues with, and then the guy gets up, runs towards the door, opens the door, and pulls out a weapon on K Flock and threatens him. They claim that K Flock then tells him that he doesn't want no problems, and that everything was good, and then the guy turns around to go walk back into the barbershop, and K-Flock pulls out his weapon, unloads it, ends up taking the guy's life, runs away. It didn't take long for the authorities to realize it was K-Flock because, there's cameras all over New York, and they were able to match his outfit that he was wearing that day, so it was pretty much case closed. They already knew it was K-Flock. When K-Flock got arrested and eventually went to trial, his defense was that it was self-defense because the guy pulled out a weapon first. But in reality, if you are from New York, you know that there's not real self-defense laws here. You're not even allowed to have a gun. So the fact that K-Flock pulled out and used a weapon, that already voids that self-defense claim. But even that, the fact that the man turned around and walked away, in my opinion, throws away the fact that that would be self-defense because it looked like the man de-escalated and walked away. K-Flock was the one who pulled out and did what he did. Now again, this is the price of being a drill rapper. K-Flock in his head didn't think he had a choice. He likely didn't want this man to go online and say, yo, I just pressed K-Flock. K-Flock folded. K-Flock was begging me for his life. So what do you think K-Flock did? K-Flock thought about his career more than his freedom. K-Flock thought about his image as a drill demon over his freedom and his family having K-Flock around. So what did K-Flock do? K-Flock upped the stick. K-Flock took out his weapon and took out this person without even needing to. He could have just walked away and the situation was already de-escalated. But that's the price of drill music. That's the price of being a drill rapper. Back in the day, a rapper could have been in the streets at one point. They could have committed some of these crimes. They could have done these things, but they weren't rapping about the things that they were actively doing. They were rapping about things that they might have done in the past or someone close to them might have done in the past or just fabricated stories altogether. But when it came to drill rap rewarded active crimes. Drill rappers literally became superstars because of the people they took out. That's literally what their entire career was about. And you can't tell me that that's not a manufactured agenda pushed into our urban communities to destroy the people there. When I grew up, I saw a lot of things for myself.
Definitely, yes.
I'm not gonna deny that there's always been crimes before drill. Obviously, there's definitely been crimes before gangster music too. But what I know for a fact was that gangster music made criminals desirable. It wasn't just a few bad apples who were gangsters, no. Gangster music and drill music made being a gangster desirable, made even the people that weren't about that life, they wanted to be gangsters because this is what was being promoted by mainstream music. This was what was being plastered all over the TVs. Specifically, I remember when I was very young, 50 Cent was the hottest rapper in the world. Me being from New York, I couldn't turn a corner without hearing 50 Cent's music. 50 Cent was everywhere, and I used to be a huge fan of 50 Cent. When I was a kid, 50 Cent was a superhero to me. His music resonated all over my neighborhood. Everybody loved 50 Cent. What they loved the most about 50 Cent was that he was this big gangster and that he got shot 9 times and survived and that he was terrorizing the game and everybody was afraid of him. I vividly remember around that time how aggressive people were acting, how the music was influencing a gangster culture that was being birthed. And I was literally in the middle of it. I saw it every day. I dealt with it as a kid. Believe it or not, that's the effect of music on the mind. And we saw that with drill music. When the era of drill music was rising, it wasn't just K-Flock that was catching bodies. There was a bunch of copycats, a bunch of other people that saw this as their opportunity to become a massive rapper and to blow up and put their block on the map. So what ended up happening? 2020, 2021 ended up being one of the highest murder rates in New York City for a long time. Why? Because of drill music. Because drill music was inspiring these kids to make their own drill song. And in order for them to have a real drill song, they have to go on a drill. They can't just make a drill song and it be a lie. So these kids were literally actively hurting themselves. And then the record label swoops in and starts signing every single one of them. The record labels is handing out deals, giving them more money so they can crash out some more. And the more bodies that are dropping, the more money the record labels is making because at the end of the day, it all works for promotion. Drill music is causing the death, so it has to be the realest form of music. That's how this operated. It wasn't only in Bronx drill because we also saw the story of Lil Jeff. Little Jeff was just like K Flock. He was known for being active in the streets, and his entire allure was the fact that he was a street guy. It was the fact that he was catching bodies. It was the fact that he wasn't that he was a good rapper. It was the fact that he was really in the streets and people were dropping because of him. And at the end of the day, the way that he went out is honestly worse than K Flock. Because K Flock, yeah, he's gonna be in prison for 30 years. But if he survives prison and he survives health-wise and everything's good, he'll make it out of there eventually. But Lil Jeff is gone. Little Jeff let the drill music, the streets mentality get to him to the point where he literally ran into his own death. The guy went to do a drill on some ops. He jumps out of his car with his weapon, runs towards the house to try to literally kick in the door, because this is something that he was known for. He would kick in the door of his ops and then take them out in their own house. So Little Jeff runs up to this person's house, kicks in their door, and immediately gets shot. He passes away, turns into a giant shootout, and this potentially big rapper who had infinite potential and who could have made it as a big star just because of his activities in the street ends up dying, losing it all, losing his opportunity, just like we saw with K Flock. There is no way K Flock is gonna come out to become a rapper, and there's no way Little Jeff is gonna come back to life and become a rapper. So they threw away their lives for something that they can't even enjoy. And that's how the devil operates. I've said this multiple times. The devil would prop up one person, give him everything, make him look like a star, make him look desirable. Also, he could lead so many souls astray. Now, honestly, people might think that this all falls only on the drill rappers or maybe the parents for raising their kids wrong and all that. I'm gonna tell you that's all wrong. It's not the parents, and it's not only on the drill rappers either. It falls on the weight of the record labels. These kids just want to make it. These kids are just following trends. These kids are learning from others. That's how we are. We are influenced by the generation before us. We are influenced by what we see, by what we grew up watching. That's who forms the people we are. So when we grow up idolizing hip hop and idolizing rap music and wanting to be rappers, when you see that there's this new opportunity that almost guarantees you to get a record deal, you're gonna go for it. And that's where the record labels come in. The record labels have no issues signing these menace drill rappers to terrorize their community, giving them more money, more resources so they can do more crimes and cause more destruction, because it's not in their communities. Why would they care? It's destroying the urban community that they don't care anything for. We are the ones that are affected. My mom still lives in the Bronx. My friends still live in the Bronx. My family members, a lot of people that I care dearly, are affected by the music, not the rich executives that run these record labels. They live in the subs. They got whatever, they got security, they got well protected areas where cops drive around and protect the area, not like where we're from in the Bronx, where the cops don't protect the area, they terrorize it. So the record label has no issues pushing this, and it's not just about making money, because they're gonna make money, but it's about destroying the community and enslaving as many people as possible. It's like I've said multiple times, drill music is the evolution of gangster music. Gangster music was designed hand in hand with the private prison industry to make sure that as many people as possible from the urban community, black and brown, end up in a private prison. Drill music is the evolved version of this because it's almost a guarantee. Not only are the drill rappers going to jail, but also the kids that are influenced to do the same thing, the kids around them, all of it. It's a system to destroy us from within. And that's exactly what the record labels did. They gave these artists a few $100,000. Next thing you know, half the town is arrested, end up in a private prison, and they make billions. That's how the system works. That's the true problem of drill music. That's the curse behind drill music. They literally pay you to crash out and destroy your life so that the audience can watch it live. And recently, I just did a video on NBA Youngboy, a 30-minute video on NBA Youngboy on my main channel, where I went through over all the information that I've learned about him. And I also showed exactly how NBA Youngboy was used to create the crash out generation. And this is one of the things that truly bothered me being from the Bronx and me actually witnessing my friends go to jail, me witnessing family members be hurt, me witnessing the effects of this gangster music on my community. And that's why I want to speak out. I honestly want to find a way to convince these kids that this is not the way, because I was one of them at one point. I was there. I experienced it myself. I dealt with it. I did things that I'm not proud of as a kid. I'm pretty sure many of you have as well. When we mature, we end up changing our mindsets. We end up changing the way we are. We turn to God and God guides us. But imagine if you never got that opportunity to learn from your mistakes. You never got your opportunity to grow from your mistakes and see, these things that I did were wrong, immature, and they were damaging my life. You don't get that opportunity when you throw away your life because you're trying to chase drill music. These kids who could possibly turn their lives around and become better influences and change themselves for the better, they don't get that opportunity. They lost that opportunity. They sacrificed that opportunity to be drill rappers. And it's sad, man. In reality, I pray for my community, specifically the Bronx itself, because I have so much love for the Bronx. I think it's a wonderful place. I just think that it's completely hijacked by the devil. And the devil has the youth in a grip. And we as the people, we shouldn't support this music. We should call it out. We should try to guide people in the right direction and help these younger kids not fall into the same trap that many of my friends, many of my family members fell into. And even I, at one point, was very close to falling into it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not perfect. None of us are. And thankfully, God always watched out for me. God always guided me and protected me. And eventually, I got back on track. So I want to thank God. I want to thank you all for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next one.
By 2024, a
Yay.
man named Leo Radvinsky became one of the richest people in the world thanks to his company OnlyFans. After becoming a top 400 billionaire in the US and making $700 million a year, it's clear that Leo is quite the savvy businessman. But what's not clear is who he really is as a person. He's never done an interview, never done a podcast, never been on TV, nothing. In fact, this is the only image you can find of Leo on the entire internet. Maybe that's because he doesn't want you to know about his super creepy history, from marketing underage content to pedophiles, promoting bestiality, the countless lawsuits he's faced, and much more. So who really is this man behind one of the biggest adult platforms in the world? And
Oh no.
Youngboy is the biggest rapper out right now. With his recent tour selling out every show, you can see why I say that. While other rappers are struggling to sell out shows, Youngboy is doing better than ever. Throughout all his legal troubles and street issues, he has managed to remain untouchable, standing tall as the leader of the new generation. But how exactly did Youngboy manage to beat all his cases and retain such a die-hard fan base throughout it all? Is it just because of his talent? Are his fans just too loyal? Well, the truth seems to be way more sinister. What if I told you that behind Youngboy's success lies a dark conspiracy that connects him to powerful secret societies, strange rituals, and even the private prison industry? By the end of this video, you will never see Youngboy the same again. Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos exposing the truth weekly. Picture either. Leaving Youngboy to be raised by his grandmother until 2010, when she tragically passed away. He would go on to move back with his mother and later told his mother he wanted to be a rapper and convinced her to let him drop out of school in the 9th grade. Youngboy would then end up involving himself with the street life. He would start committing petty crimes around the local Baton Rouge area to make money, eventually getting in trouble with the law, being sent to a youth detention facility. When Youngboy was released from the youth center, he would go on to link with his estranged brother, and together they would start making music. Youngboy and his brother would end up joining a local street gang called TBG, who would go on to fund his early music career. He would eventually have a problem with a fellow member of the crew who went by the name of G Money and decided to leave the crew and formed his own crew named NBA. This would eventually spark a rivalry between both crews, leading to losses on both sides. As Youngboy was picking up steam in the music industry, he would go on to get arrested for 2 attempt charges back in 2016. The police were accusing Youngboy of trying to take out his rivals. As he was fighting those accusations, his crew would continue to release his music, growing his buzz. This would turn out to be the best thing his crew could have done for Youngboy, as one of those songs they released would turn out to be a hit song. Youngboy's career took off after releasing his song 38 Baby in 2016 while still in jail. Due to the success of his song, he managed to sign a deal with Atlantic Records. Somehow, Youngboy also managed to get himself out of any prison time by taking a plea deal which put him on house arrest. Even after he became a famous rapper, he still couldn't stay out of the streets, a habit that has repeatedly ended him up in trouble with the law. Youngboy has been arrested a total of 7 times since he has been famous. 7 separate arrests, all by the age of 25 years old. Seeing how Youngboy didn't grow up with his father because he was serving a 55-year prison sentence, you would think Youngboy would not want to follow in his father's footsteps, especially considering how rich, famous, and successful he has been able to become. None of this stops Youngboy from getting in trouble, not his father's fate and not even his immense success. What doesn't help Youngboy's behavior is the fact that he always finds a way to avoid hard prison time. He either beats the case, gets it dismissed, or in the worst case scenario, takes a very favorable plea deal that keeps him from doing hard prison time. Youngboy's trouble with the law goes all the way back to 2014. In 2014, NBA Youngboy was just a 15-year-old when he was caught committing a robbery. He was sentenced to 6 months in a juvenile detention center, which is when he wrote and later released his debut mixtape, Life Before Fame. While this was one of his real first criminal charges, he managed to escape relatively easy with a short 6-month sentence. His second arrest would come not long after his first, in 2016. In 2016, he was arrested for attempted murder. When NBA Youngboy was in Austin, Texas before a show, Baton Rouge law enforcement thought he fired guns into a crowd during a drive-by. He pleaded guilty in exchange for a reduced charge of aggravated assault with a firearm, which got him just 9 months in prison. The plea deal sentenced Youngboy to 3 years of probation with a suspended 10 years prison sentence. This was a huge break for Youngboy, as just 2 years prior, he was caught committing a robbery. Usually, the judge isn't that reasonable once a pattern of criminal behavior starts to show, but somehow, Youngboy managed to get off with such a light sentence for such a horrible crime. His next arrest would come in 2018. This time, it was assault, weapons, and kidnapping charges. Before a concert at the Moon nightclub in Tallahassee, NBA Youngboy was arrested for committing assault, weapons violations, and kidnapping. Hotel surveillance showed them assaulting his then girlfriend, Jania Jackson, and restraining her. He was also caught with weapons during his arrest. He was eventually released from jail with a $75,000 bail. You would think his third arrest would play as a wake-up call for Youngboy, that it would help him realize that he had to change his ways in order to keep this from happening again. But the fact that he always seems to escape real prison time, Youngboy kept on being a menace. His next arrest would end up happening in 2019. In 2019, he would end up being targeted by a group of people who attempted to take him out during a drive-by shooting in Miami. Youngboy managed to survive the attack, but his then girlfriend was struck by a bullet. An innocent bystander was also struck and unfortunately passed away. Even though Youngboy wasn't the aggressor, he was still arrested. While he was acquitted of all charges for the shooting, NBA Youngboy had violated his probation by making threats on social media, which he was banned from using. Also for being around other felons, so he was sentenced to 90 days in jail and house arrest. Again, Youngboy got